Good Monday morning of the third week at Ordinary Times. We're continuing in the Gospel of Mark, okay? And it's kind of interesting, very well, because the more I read Mark's Gospel, the more I understand the tremendous power that it possesses, because Mark is the first of the Gospels. I guess he's collected together many of the insights of the original apostles, but also the preaching. And so there's a heavy layer of language in there that carries a lot more meaning than I ever give it credit for. Not that I'm any whiz kid, because I'm anything but. But I live a reflective life, and I do give a homily every morning, as you're well aware now, for better or for worse. But it really strikes me now more and more how what you're seeing in Mark's gospel is the faith of the early church. The faith of the early church. And its inner struggles, you see. How it formed its own unity, how it formed its own communal spirit. And in the text today about, I'll read, the scribes who had come from Jerusalem said of Jesus, he's possessed by Beelzebub, the prince of demons, okay? And that's how he drives out demons. So the accusation is that Christ is demonic. He is the force of evil. You know why the scribes could say that? Because he was undercutting, in their view, the Mosaic law. He wasn't. He was fulfilling it. But they saw him as tearing it down. He transcended it. They saw him as violating it. If I were a conservative Jew, that's exactly how I would see Christ. If I were an Orthodox Jew, absolutely. You saw him wreaking havoc with the most sacred of all sacred things. The Mosaic law, the great gift of God to the Jewish people. To this day, it has sustained them sustained their identity and their life and their purposiveness, their purposefulness for 1,000, 2,000 years, despite all the horrors that they have suffered as a people. Just the 20th century, the first half, between 1925 and 1940, those 20 years wiped out 6 million. And this great horrifying slaughter of the 20th century Holocaust. And yet it sustained him. Here early in the time of Christ, you have him, as it were, transcending that law and, as it were, breaking it in certain details. Picking grain on the Sabbath, etc. Okay? So they see him as a demonic figure, as a Beelzebub, the prince of demons. He is tearing the law apart from within. The demonic spirit is always a spirit of division, not diversity, division and hostility from within, revolution within, civil war within, tearing at the very heart of the unity of a people, of a community, and in your own heart. Terrible, violent divisiveness, you see? That's the demonic spirit. It separates what should be unified, you see? And that's what I think he's getting at here, and he's accused of it. But then he brings what Christ counters with him. He says that if I am Beelzebub and I drive out demons, well, then it's a house divided against itself. It shall fall. And then he goes on and makes a tremendous moral claim, and I'll read it to you. He said, if the house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand. That's the end of him. Okay? It's a very important point. The ancient world understood that far better than we do, because they understood that a house, a family, and a society, a culture, an ethnic group, or whatever you want to call it, you call it, all right, a tribal group, is held together by its inner unity. You stick together. You see, you never betray your own. See, because if you show a weakness, you'll be crushed. In a hostile world, you stick together. You see, and in that world, everyone who was not your neighbor was your enemy. That's the culture of that time. Hence, you must be neighbor to each other. You don't have to like each other, but you have to be neighbor to each other, which means you stick together and you protect each other. You nurture it. The Good Samaritan. Okay. Good Samaritan. You care for each other. And the Good Samaritan actually goes beyond it, because you care for the enemy. But you see, when he said, "Who is my neighbor?" he tells the story. He really tells the story of the Good Samaritan. See? I think I said that right. I hope I did. The point is still the same, even if I followed it up. See? A house divided again. I'll tell you the truth, whatever this is worth, small talk. In my home, that was my father's ethos, my parents, my father's ethos. You never went against your own family. You never, ever, ever attacked your own. You always stuck together. I don't know how to explain it. It's a cultural thing. It's a family cultural thing. You understand that the family unit, the social unit, is so fundamental. You never do violence to it. That's in my blood too, I have to say. You never divide yourself against yourself. You never divide a friend. You never make a friend into an enemy, a neighbor into an enemy. You never do that. You always are friend to friend. It's an action. The Good Samaritan is an actor. He acts. He doesn't define what it is to be a neighbor. He acts like one. He is the good neighbor. See, the Good Samaritan, he takes care of them. See? Good Samaritan. See? He's an enemy who turns an enemy into a friend. The Good Samaritan is an enemy, but he treats the Hebrew as a friend. He cures him, helps him, you see. He becomes actively neighbor to everyone else. I think of that because when I teach ethics, I don't know if I'm doing a good job here right now, but I think very much, but never convert an enemy into a friend into an enemy, even a potential friend or an acquaintance. Never turn him into an enemy. Always treat everyone respectfully. You don't even have to like them, but you can honor them, you can respect them. You don't have to attack them, and you definitely never undercut them. Never. You always play the game honestly, straightforwardly. You always stand on your honor and in true honesty toward each other. You always tell the truth. You don't connive. You don't manipulate. And if you make a mistake, you own up to it. I really mean that. I've seen it in my career where underhandedness just backfires because you're too stupid to do it well, if nothing else, and you turn friends into enemies, or at least potential friends, into those who don't trust you. And you give reason not to trust you. You're not trustworthy. You're not trustworthy. Why should I trust you? I won't harm you, but I may not put my trust in you either. If you're in need, I may reach out and help you. That's the Good Samaritan. But helping you is one thing. Trusting you is another. Now, this is a subtle thing I'm getting at here. See, when I see diversity, and I totally respect that, especially in the academic world. Holy moly. Academic freedom, are you kidding me? But I don't respect whatsoever divisiveness and political divisiveness, where it's disruptive of a community of friends. We should be friends together, not enemies. And I've seen it where faculty have turned potential friends and certainly colleagues into enemies. They've treated them like enemies, and they become enemy. Instead of being a good Samaritan, they become an enemy to the enemy by creating the enemy. That's just reality, it's life. And you always lose. I think one of the things I really, really go back to, and I don't mean to exaggerate it, I grew up in a normal city street in Connecticut, okay, but it's a city street, and you knew to keep your nose clean and your mouth shut. Don't make an enemy out of your kids on the street. If for nothing else, you're in it together. You stick together, you play together, you stick together. Okay? What you don't do is turn a friend into an enemy. The way I put it I told my colleagues one time, I said, if I did the dumb things you guys do, and where I grew up, I get the hell kicked out of me. I said the shit kicked out of me. I would have gotten my ass kicked so bad. This is stupid. You don't turn a friend into an enemy, even though it's an acquaintance. Just treat each other with respect. Notice everything, see everything, notice only what you need to notice, and keep your mouth shut. Look out for each other. Protect your street. A lot of wisdom in that street stuff. A lot.